So this is going to be a super exciting program. It's actually our first time doing one of these case study models. I'm going to be actually behind the scenes for most of this evening, and I'm going to pass it off now to Laurel Hunt, Group Now's board chair. Laurel, take it away.
Thanks, Bradley. Hi, everyone. It's good to see you. It's good to have this special little virtual gathering. Feels even more special as the months go on, but good to see some faces that I recognize, some new faces. First, just want to start by giving a huge thank you to Susan, to Bradley, of course, to Marcus, our keynote speaker, who I'll introduce in a minute, and to all of you for making time. I think, we all need a little bit of hope, so hoping we can talk a little bit more about that today. And I really think this is an awesome opportunity to listen and connect with each other. Also, really quickly, thank you to the Schusterman Foundation, and in particular the ROI program, providing funding for this opportunity. And if you talk to Bradley afterwards, thank him for taking the time to put people in breakout groups. So to kick things off, I'm just going to introduce our keynote speaker, Marcus Freed. Marcus is a close friend of Bradley's. He's also an ROIer, which is his connection to me. But beyond that, he's really a brilliant author, an incredible speaker, and also a local Angelino. Go LA. So I'm not going to say too much more because he has an incredible story, and we'll do a Q&A after. But Marcus, take it away.
Thank you very much, Laurel. Thank you, Laurel and Bradley, for inviting me to be here. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good, great. The story of hope, or sort of YESH Tikvah, going from somewhere to hope. I'm going to tell it in two parts. I'll tell the 30-second version and then a longer version, and then we'll look at the hope, and then we'll have Q&A if there are any questions. The 30-second version is this. 2.5 years ago, 3rd of November, 2017, I was walking to a Friday night Shabbat dinner wearing this suit, got hit by a car, had an emergency brain hemorrhage, brain surgery, near-death experience. 4 days later, another brain hemorrhage, another brain surgery, and then fast forward, we get here. That's sort of the brief version. The longer version is, it began, I was walking along to a Shabbat dinner and just sort of carrying some berries and some strawberries, and there was a big traffic jam on the middle of Olympic Boulevard, if anyone's, or for those who are familiar with Los Angeles. And it looked like the traffic was still as it happened. There was a turning lane, and this car sort of raced up. I was crossing where I shouldn't have been crossing. It turns out it wasn't also still. So I felt this kind of slight hit on the left side of my leg. Next thing I knew, I was getting up off the ground, and I saw the berries and the strawberries everywhere, strewn across the front and strewn across the road. And immediately sort of noticed, I woke up, just sort of got consciousness back, started breathing immediately. I've been practicing yoga and teaching forms of it and teaching meditation, and written a few books on it over the last 18 years or so. So I knew that was the point. The entire life's worth of yoga practice or meditation practice was now to be put literally into practice. Like everything was building up. There were two witnesses. They came over to the side of the street. The guy who hit me actually also pulled over to the side of the street. He was around 23, 24, young guy, blonde hair, driving a white Lexus CT200. We'll come back to that in a second. And they all offered to drive me to hospital. And not knowing the American healthcare system, which is not an excuse, I didn't know which hospital to go to. My assumption was always, well, every American understands exactly how the American healthcare system works, which I now understand isn't necessarily the case. It's possible that no one actually understands it, but there are sort of gradations, but I wasn't prepared for that particular moment. And also getting in an ambulance and so on. And I was worried, I might generate a $5,000 bill if I pick the wrong ambulance. Like I come from England, this kind of vestiges of a social healthcare system, not realizing that I was going to rack up 150 grand's worth of bills within about 7 days. Anyway, so the driver drives me to a friend's house. I give everyone my cards. I give the two witnesses my business card. I give the driver my card. Don't usually get in the car on Shabbat, but this was the time to get in the car. And he offered to walk me in. I sort of said, oh no, it's okay. Just like, here's my card, check up or whatever. So I step inside. So that was a mistake. That was sort of mistake number two. And I go into my friend's house, and I go and start washing the blood off. And when I knocked at the door, I said, I'm very sorry to bother you. I've just been hit by a car, which is kind of quite an English apology. So I went into the bathroom to sort of start washing inside my face, and I felt this waterfall inside my head, which is basically a brain hemorrhage. So my friends were, I mean, it was lucky they'd been home. If they hadn't been home, I had about 90 minutes to live. Like, it was just kind of, there's sort of many other permutations. If I'd gone home by myself and let myself in, wouldn't have woken up, all these kind of things. So one of my friends walked me back to my place. And by the time I'd got back there, I was sort of losing consciousness. I was kind of going in and out of consciousness. She called Hatzalah, the Jewish Emergency Services. They were there within about 2 minutes, which is phenomenal. I mean, these guys were at their Shabbat tables, phones ready. As soon as they hear something, they rush there. I say, I've got a bit of a headache. It's like, no kidding. And I was like, I've got to get a headache tablet. And there was aspirin. I was like, they said, don't take aspirin, but I'm a Sagittarian. Like, I'm not going to be told what to do under certain circumstances, like fire blazing. So I go and take a couple of aspirin, which, if you're having a brain hemorrhage, is the worst thing you can do. Mistake number 3, because it thins the blood. Not what you want to do when there's. So they call 911. The ambulance picks me up, and I'm kind of like going in and out. Apparently, I was speaking to the witnesses on the phone. Next thing I remember, I see a bunch of faces around me. A lady in front of me says, Marcus, you're in Cedar Sinai Hospital. We have to cut your shirt off. I was like, well, can't you take it off? Because it's a floral print shirt from a shop in London called Marks and Spencer's. Maybe you could just hang it up. And they said, no, you're wearing a neck brace. We're not allowed to move you. Then I kind of realized I was wearing that. Then they said, we're preparing you for brain surgery. And I was like, when can you get me an appointment? Because I was thinking, well, it's Friday now, there's going to be waiting lists, like maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, like, when can you get me in? So they said, right now, or you might die. So my response was, okay, great, thanks for everything you're doing, I appreciate it all, I'm going to close my eyes now for a bit, I'll see you on the other side. Now at that point, all I remember is I went into this sort of very dark space, and I saw 2 bright lights. So I did a window to my left, which was a gold window. I knew this represented going across and basically coming back to this lifetime, this incarnation as Marcus. So I'd wake up in this form. I saw a white light, so gold light on one side, white light on the other. I knew the white was transitioning across to the other side. Next plane of existence. What we would call death, but when I actually got to the gate of death, I saw it was just moving across, just onto the next stage, going through literally a doorway, although I saw a window. And I've been doing a lot of martial arts training over the previous 3-4 years, specifically Kabbalistic stuff. It was very much about getting rid of fear and the art of dying, and sort of seeing beyond it and realizing the only thing to do at that point is just to release and be free of fear, which is why I wasn't actually scared at any point, as the phrase of Hamilton goes, what is it? Head full of fantasies, dying like a martyr, living is easy, son, or dying is easy, son, living is harder. So like, it's, so at that point, fine. So it was literally the last line of Adon Olam prayer, B'yada of Kidruchi, into my hand, I entrust your spirit. So it's literally relief. Woke up in ICU, tubes, the whole lot. My parents were rushed in. There wasn't time to go into sort of the depth of the details. I'm just sort of shooting a series, filming something about it at the moment. But 4 days later, there was another brain hemorrhage, another brain surgery. There are classes around the world being dedicated. There was a crowdfunding campaign. We didn't know how we were going to pay for it. 1,800 different people, families sort of showed up to support that. But what happened when I came out of hospital after that was there was brain injury at the time. Fortunately, that was completely healed within 3 months, but still dealing with the physical effects. But as an actor and writer and a marketing company, I wasn't able to think straight, so I couldn't write afterwards. I'd just been performing one of my plays in the Hollywood Fringe Festival, could barely walk, very far at least, and sort of dealing with all these things. And what many people saw as a low point, actually what I saw as an opportunity. The opportunity being looking for the blessing, which is something I've been teaching. And from the outside, it looked very bad. There was like a 14-inch scar down the side of my head, not bragging about the scar, but it's cool. It looked very Game of Thrones, and it was just around season 7 at that time. And, it was incredibly challenging not being able to write. I couldn't read at that point because I could see words. I couldn't kind of keep them in my brain. I had to go out wearing glasses because it was the lights were bright at night. I couldn't go in a car at night. My parents flew over. They had to stay with me for a while. For 3 months, I had to have sort of one-on-one care. I mean, it was this bizarre situation. And the one thing I sort of bore in mind was there was a teaching of Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, also known as the Alter Rebbe. And in his book, Sefer Tanya, he says that everything is blessing, just there are many hidden blessings. So the more we search to reveal a hidden blessing, the more it gets revealed. So the more you go like on a treasure hunt, the more you're going to find treasure. So the more you look for the reveal, the more you look to see beyond the hidden blessing, the more you try to reveal it, the more chance there is, the more you're going to see. So there were many, many different blessings that came out of it. I mean, tremendous amounts of blessings. I wrote a big article for YESH.com on this. And say, I don't know, so to pick a few of them. One was I never realized how much love there was in the world and how much support we have, not to be on the film quoting thing, but Gladiator. As Russell Crowe says, what we do in this life echoes in eternity. So there's kind of small little acts, the things we do with our life, we don't naturally see them, but a student from 20 years ago who came back and said, oh, you really helped me when I was 10 years old, like I want to help you now or something, or someone I'd met here suddenly showed up. So we don't know these different impacts. So that was one thing. I couldn't read or write, so I ended up learning how to paint on YouTube, and then suddenly I've got a wall full of paintings. So that was another blessing which came out. By being still, it really saw how, okay, this was an opportunity for resetting career-wise. Obviously what Bradley and what Laura's doing, like this, the whole career up now, it is very much about supporting careers, broadening, expanding. So that was another blessing. I really sort of one thing after another, and it was like a reset, like a second chance in life. Now, it's not that it was easy. Like, I still get dizzy. I did my first flips on the lawn actually the other day, which I was very happy about. I mean, I had a fairly intense yoga practice before, doing handstands every single day. Like, I'm not back to that, and I'm not back to the headstands. The neurosurgeons aren't really into that for whatever reason. But just kind of getting to experience this recovery, getting to experience the joy of going to Trader Joe's, being able to do all my shopping, pack all the bags, put them in the shopping cart, get them into my car, get them out at home, bring them up the stairs, unpack them, put them in the shelves. That was a massive win. And it felt, I mean, there was like a moment of elation. It's going to be maybe 18 months to get to that, or get back to that. So, yeah, in terms of finding hope, I mean, the hope really is everywhere. It's just finding it. And last 5 weeks in LA, and I'll sort of wrap up with this, these challenges are here again. I mean, everyone has these challenges in wherever you are right now. Like, these are obviously challenging times. Yeah, last few weeks, I've seen a burning building from the roof, or a burning LAPD cop car with a 60-foot plume of black smoke, the whole of Rodeo Drive tagged up with graffiti. They actually cleaned that one up very quickly, back to business now on Rodeo Drive. I went for a relaxing Sunday afternoon in Santa Monica, got caught in the middle of a riot with fireworks being let off either end of the street, protesters walking past, and 8 trucks of National Guardsmen going through the streets. So again, it's not that there's kind of obviously one solution, but it's continually looking for, oh yeah, also after 10 years, it's possible I'm going to have to leave America because they're having trouble renewing my visa. So I'm packing up and selling my stuff. So like these things don't necessarily stop, but we're seeing how Tikvah, we look for the blessing.
Marcus, thank you. I think I do see a hand. Aliki?
Yes, thank you. So the way I see your experience, it's brought you a lot of really deep revelations and everything else. And we're certainly going through a very challenging time right now, not only in America, but as humanity in general. And it is time of revelation. I do believe it's time of evolution of us by going through those revelations. It's like a sacred ritual in a way. I mean, very painful one. What do you see? Because even the things you've mentioned right now, the riots being in the middle of it, the visa and everything else. What are the things you're seeing from being in it right now?
Do you mean in terms of like physically what we're seeing, or sort of the bigger patterns, the bigger?
Whatever you feel you're called to answer. I meant bigger thing, but it's again, physically, everything is important. So whatever is.
Yeah, well, I'd say revolution. I mean, this sort of tremendous revolution, this tremendous change. I think it's sort of exciting. I mean, it's not unexpected in the sense, and certainly from the spiritual perspective, of every 2,000 years, there's a massive change. You know, like every 2,000 years, and I don't want to go I'm not going to go too into esoteric astrology or astrotheology or anything, but you know, the age of Aquarius, it kind of began in the 60s. They were singing at it like chaos. You know, 2,000 years ago, it was the end of the Roman Empire. This stuff's going to happen. There's going to be change, and you know, the paradigm's shifting. It's obviously like tremendously disconcerting. I mean, it can be tremendously disconcerting. What I can sort of share is my response. The thing I'm trying to work on is kind of the emunah, is the faith piece, and just trying to stay centered with it. Like, I'm seeing craziness, like you know, California's got its own particular challenges, the free speech and all that kind of thing. I'm going back to England where there's going to be quarantine and whatever's flying around there. I like to think there's opportunity. It's just a case of identifying it. So for me, my practice is, where's the opportunity? If I find myself kind of going into the negative space, just trying to like do this wrestling, this inner discipline. So for anyone who's got a yoga practice, a meditation practice, Shabbat practice, a prayer practice, like this is the time to continually put it into practice.
Thank you, Marcus, for what you said. I'm actually doing a podcast in my coaching practice on Thursday, and one of the questions that she's asked me is, what changes have I seen the pandemic has caused? And the way I relate to it, to add to what Marcus said, is that I feel it's really provided us an opportunity to take stock of how we are, who we are as individuals, our lifestyles, our work environments, our planet. So our planet needs our minds. And I think because a lot of us are walking and we're living different lifestyles right now with family, not family, it also encourages us, in my opinion, to have, whether or not the Black Lives Matter had gone on or is going on and will continue to go on, I think it's a time to have more compassion for our differences. And I'm saying that because I work with project people, leaders, et cetera, in companies and individually. And what I'm finding is that what we thought might be our path is not necessarily going to be our path, knowing that we've had all these months of sheltering in place and people are working remotely and they've never done that before and they may not have the skills to do that, or they've got the 2 little kids running around, and how do you do all this? So it's kind of like an opportunity to have a beginner's mindset. And that means that we're open to new things that maybe we were close to. We're open to learning. We're open to collaborating, not through software, but through people. And so I know that that's very opportunistic in a way. It seems a little too positive, but what I know is that I know it's possible. And I think, Marcus, what you talked about really got me kind of excited about sharing what's possible, because that's all about the mindset and it's all about faith and hope. And anyway, that's my 2 cents.
That's great. I think it's also, I found by studying some selected history of what's happened after massive upheavals in the past. Every time there's new growth, there has to be. If you imagine just ripping up a garden of earth, turning all the earth over, plant a couple of seeds, things are going to grow. So it's not necessarily comfortable. I mean, in California, we see this. There's a seed in California, one particular plant, and the nature of the seed is that it can only be open and germinated when it's covered by a fire of about 800 degrees or something. Like it literally has to have this to crack it open. I mean, there's a Kabbalistic idea of the klipot, the shells being smashed open to release the light. And certainly in California, they need to have fires. They need to control them, but nature provides its own fires just to clear the brush. The tragic thing is that doesn't make it easier on the ground if you're a plant and the fire comes through, or if you're watching it nearby. I mean, I've lost, I don't know, like several of my friends have lost parents due to COVID. The most recent one was last week. He's got, like, that'll be it, you know. And from our perspective, it's like, okay, there is this clearing, it's creating space. Money isn't disappearing from the world, it's just moving. So with that in mind, you know, what happened in the past? Israel came out of the Second World War, obviously, after the Holocaust. All kinds of things, all kinds of creativity happen after these. So if we're going to spend our time looking back or just looking at the negative, if you get hit by something, job losses, whatever it happens to be, just keep on looking. I mean, there is blessing in here. It's just wrestling it. Like Jacob and the angel. wrestling it and not letting go of it until you get it.